Hello. Welcome everyone to another episode of Role Playing Guys. This is Spencer happening here for another quick intro. As you know, this is season 6 of the Role Playing Guys, where we are testing out a bunch of different minigames that have been sent to us. The game that we are currently testing is A Cool and Lonely Courage from Alex White. You can find him on Twitter at NAlexWhite. Again, that is NAlexWhite. He sent us this game, which is set in World War II, which focuses on the awesome female spies of World War II that were doing awesome things like transmitting messages and secretly sabotaging a lot of awesome stuff. So, in other words, this is a really cool game, and this is the first session that we are doing it. Thank you so much, Alex White, for sending us this game and letting us test it out for you. In other news, please do not forget that we are on the Necropodicon Podcast Network, and if you follow us on Discord, you can participate in the weekly giveaways that the network is doing. Every week they give away a game that can be used on your PC or Mac or whatever, and all you have to do is go to the Discord channel and you'll be able to find out all the rules there. They're a little difficult to explain, and I think it's a lot easier to read through them to understand exactly how you can win some awesome prizes. Speaking of following us on Discord, you can also follow us on our social media accounts at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We have a lot of awesome stuff that goes up there consistently. You can also email us at rolepg13@gmail.com if you want to shout out to us or send us a new game that you want us to test out, or you have a game that you really like that you have never heard tested on a podcast. We would love to do that for you. As we're prepping up for season 7 with Nick in charge, we have whittled it down to a few choice games that we are still debating on. So if you want to get your voice heard, please send us in the games that you really want to hear about. Thank you so much to our patrons over the land of Patreon, Brad, Jules, and Steven. You are the Matt Damon to our Ben Affleck in Good Will Hunting. Without you, we'd be a bunch of idiots just kind of mumbling around and not making a whole lot of sense. Finally, we want to remind you, as we do every week, to pay attention to what's going on with the global pandemic with COVID-19. As always, we encourage you to get your news from the most reliable sources like the WHO, the World Health Organization, or the CDC, or any of the national health services that are being provided in any of your home countries. They're the ones that give you the most up-to-date information. So do things like they're consistently encouraging. That means doing things like social distancing still, washing your hands, which, I mean, I shouldn't have to say still because that's always going to be a thing that you should do, and covering your coughs, just thinking about other people in general and not thinking so much about yourself and the sacrifices that you are making. There are a lot of people who are making a lot bigger sacrifices, so think about them. Think about those who are more vulnerable than you that really need your help. And even though it seems like an annoying thing, staying at home or depriving yourself of social gatherings, it can make a huge difference for somebody else. So please be conscious of that. Please help other people. And that's all I have. Let's get to the episode. Oh, geez, I just gave up vaping this week for coronavirus. And now I just got all this extra phlegm.
We're back on Spencer's opening quips, are we?
Oh, if that's what you want, I could do that. I'm not sure that this series would be appropriate for that.
No, I don't think so at all. I just it's just been a while since you've done that.
It's been a while since
once we start recording, you would just say the most random things that just shake my head.
It's been a while since I've been the one, I guess, in charge. That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, because you can't really say anyway.
Welcome, everybody, to the Role Playing Guys. I'm Spencer, and for this session of Season 6, I will be the one in charge, even though this game really doesn't have a GM. But, yeah, anyway, with me, we have Nick.
Hello.
And Rebecca.
Hey.
And Tyler.
Bonjour.
As you might have guessed or remember from the last time that we recorded, we were playing A Cool and Lonely Courage, a game sent to us by Alex White. This is a really interesting game because, as opposed to a lot of the other tabletop role-playing games that include a lot of mechanics, this game is stripped to the bare bones. You have a deck of cards, and that's about it, and your imagination. This game specifically takes place in France in World War II, and it's following the story of Special Operations Executive, which was a branch of the military for the Allied powers that were essentially women that were fighting against the Axis powers. So they were trained formally, and then they were sent to France to cause havoc. I mean, they were doing awesome stuff. They were transmitting messages to people. They were blowing stuff up. Pretty intense. And true story, too. I mean, what we're going to be doing isn't true, but it's based on true stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ty. Is there anything?
I gotcha.
Is there anything else that you guys think I missed?
Let's see. I think it'd be cool to note. Where is it in here? The name of the game has a cool inspiration. Where? There it is. So yeah, like you said, this focuses on women serving in France in the SOE and in World War II. This game is called A Cool and Lonely Courage because a senior recruiter for the SOE felt that women were particularly well suited to these roles, to these courier and wireless operator roles, because of their quote unquote cool and lonely courage, which makes for a really really neat name for the game.
Thank you for mentioning that. I totally glossed over that part. I think, why don't we explain a little bit of how the game is played? What you need in the rulebook, it says what you need to play this are these rules, a deck of cards, some index cards or just paper in general, and then pens or pencils. And I would add imagination.
And friends.
You don't need friends. I don't have those. And I'm
actually, you can
guys.
Play this. There's a solo version of this, actually.
That was
if you don't have that part, you can still play.
It is possible to play this solo. So, I mean, there is that.
The way that the cards work is every player is dealt a hand, which consists of 6 cards. And then depending on the suit of the card is what will happen in the story that you're telling. The way that you play this game is it's divided into 5 sections, which is arrival to France, the mission that you're sent there to actually do, the interlude, which is kind of like a calm moment before chapter 4, which is the capture, and chapter 5, which is prison. So the cards that you draw will influence a major plot point of the story that you're telling in that moment. So for example, hearts are love. So that means that you have a moment of love, and that could be any type, friends, actual like romantic interest, or family, however you want to see that. Diamonds are success, so that could be anything, any way you want to cut that. Spades are death, which means that somebody in the scene has to die, and it has to be somebody that you care about. That's interesting. Make note of that. And then clubs are misfortune, which is essentially just the opposite of the success card.
I think I might also point out that the world of the game starts with all of the player characters, all of these SOE women in prison. And the first, I think, 3 chapters, or 4 chapters, are essentially flashbacks. Mm-hmm. They all think back to a moment or a scene of arrival. They think back to a mission. They think back to a sort of like in-between moment, and also the moment of the capture. And then chapter 5 is like the present time, mm-hmm. and things are resolved one way or another, and we'll get to that when we get to it.
Thanks, Nick. Definitely helping out, hopping in there and covering stuff that I miss. It's useful to have to play this game not by yourself for that reason.
Exactly.
So as Nick was saying, the scenes take place, and the way that scenes are played out, as opposed to a normal role-playing game, or I guess a standard role-playing game where you roll dice or you draw cards to do something, you draw your card, and that's going to be a moment in the scene that you describe. So it really is more collaborative storytelling. I think that's what we said in the last episode. It's collaborative storytelling as opposed to really a lot of playing. Is the way that I would differentiate it from a lot of standard games. What are your thoughts?
I mean, there's not really any gameplay mechanics. It's literally you draw a card and then you base your scene off what's drawn. So everyone takes a supporting role of the player whose turn it is, and it's just storytelling and trying to make a compelling story that hopefully honors the memory of these ladies.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Ty brought this up, that everybody else plays a supporting role, and the player who's describing the scene can write down or mention specific supporting characters that they want to have in a scene, and then the other players can volunteer and actually like play that role for them. So if you want to do more of an interactive gameplay, then you can do that, or you could have it just be told more retro or looking back on it, where you're playing every character, is what I gather from it.
Correct.
Alex gives a few notes that are important when you're playing it. Make sure that you're writing down the names of the supporting characters so that way they can be used in multiple scenes. If a supporting character is killed, make sure that that is like a moment, because this is somebody that you actually, if it's a supporting character, it's somebody that you interacted with. And when you put it into context of the game or context of history, it would be one of the few people that you actually had more close contact with in a foreign country when it's basically you alone.
Yeah.
In the rulebook, Alex suggests that you act out some scenes to maybe give it some more impact, but they also mention don't act out a lot of the like physical scenes with Gestapo officers or Nazi characters. That just can get really messy really quick, so it's better to avoid it.
Yeah, in the beginning of the game, he talks a lot about like safety for the group. So he gives a few tools that you can use just in case you feel uncomfortable in these kind of topics, which they can be uncomfortable because they were very extreme. So he does like have like the X rule where there's like an X card in the center of the table. So if someone does go into an area that may be uncomfortable for everybody, then you can redo the scene. So if that's something important to you and your group, he gives you some good tools for that, and so you can enjoy the game.
It's becoming more of a popular thing in games, to have those, what is it,
like
veils and lines?
Safety tools.
Safety tools, yeah.
I think they are often called safety tools, which, again, it's not something that we as a group have ever really used that much because we know each other pretty well to know our own limits. But I can certainly see how, especially as more and more and more people are playing online, that especially with just kind of like, people randomly meeting and things like that. So there is that, especially since the safety tools are good for this game because, serious subjects can come up. So,
yeah.
And thank you, Nick, for saying serious subjects can come up. We're not going to go into any of the torture techniques that were used in order to try and get people to break in prison. We're not going to go and describe those scenes. Just if you want to watch something like that or listen to something like that, you can do that on your own.
There's plenty
but we aren't. We aren't going to do that ourselves. Watch The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Watch The Pianist. Watch Schindler's List. There's a plethora of things that you can watch out there. And a lot of other stuff that isn't so mainstream that gets even more graphic and detailed. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So on a happier note, why don't we I think the best way to learn this game would actually be to see it played. So tonight we're going to walk through character creation. I think that was a really good thing that we did in the last series that Nick was in charge of for Flying Circus. Just to be able to get to know a little bit of the characters. And we might even do, if we have time left over, we'll get into the first scene, which is Arrival, and play that out. When you're first creating a character, Alex has provided a guide here. So the first thing that you want to do is you need to identify who you are. So that's going to be things like nationality, your normal name, not your operative name, and the background that you had before joining the SOE. And we're just going to abbreviate Special Operations Executive to SOE, going forward. It's just faster. So who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Sweet.
Nice.
That's Rebecca, not
Yeah.
Tyler.
I have a very feminine voice.
Hey.
Cool.
Okay. So my character is English. Her name is Faye Dubois, and her birth name was Blackwood. And she was a journalist.
Ooh, journalist.
Journalism.
You're on one tonight, Tyler.
I know, sorry.
Are you feeling
good.
okay? You're just in this little shelter blanket.
It's really cold.
That explains so much.
I'm a cold SOE operator.
Nick, do you want to go next?
Sure. I have chosen. So my character's name is Helen Ruth Gertine. She is Canadian American.
Nice. Nice. From Minnesota?
Canadian born, but grew up in America, specifically the New England area. I'm going to say, Massachusetts. She grew up in Massachusetts. And she was a librarian. That's her occupational background.
Nice.
Am I up? Is it my turn?
Yeah. Go
ahead.
Okay. I didn't think of a last name. Sorry. Her name is Alice. She is a teacher, but she is French. She was able to escape France and escape to England before the occupation. And now she wishes to return to France to kind of avenge her father's death. He died in the French army. And so she wants to go back and kind of avenge him and reclaim
I don't think we've
France.
gone that far yet.
Yeah, we haven't gone that far, Ty.
Oh, well, sorry, guys.
We
I
just
jumped the
need
gun.
who you are, your nationality, name, and background.
I'm Alice, I'm a teacher, and I'm French.
And I am France.
And I'm France.
I am playing Juliana Cortez. She is Spanish, which is actually not one of the listed nationalities, but it is a country in Europe. So I figured it would be appropriate. And
It did exist in during World War II. So
I mean, lucky I didn't say Prussia. Is
You're
that a
actually
sore
German?
subject? Is that still too soon?
I don't know.
And I was a children's book author.
Ooh, nice.
We all picked different stuff. Nice.
But kind of not.
I mean, journalist and book author is about the same.
Journalist, author,
Teacher
librarian,
and children's
teacher.
book author.
All connected by books
Yeah.
and children.
Okay. Why don't we do the next two together, which is why do you speak French and why did you join the SOE? So, Faye, do you want to go through that?
Yeah, so I speak French. I married a Frenchman, hence Dubois as the last name.
I did wonder about that.
Yes, I put a lot of thought into this, actually. And that's why I speak French, married to a Frenchman. And I also have done some work in France, which is where I met him. And the reason I joined the SOE is my husband joined the army, the French army, and I haven't heard from him recently, so trying to figure out what happened there and help support the war effort.
Exciting. Missing
So-
husband.
For Helen Gertine, she speaks French because both of her parents are Quebecois from Quebec, so she actually speaks Canadian French fluently. She joined the SOE because she was part of a book hunting operation in Europe. I did some very brief research on librarians in World War II or whatever, and there's a book. I found a book that's on sale on Amazon talking about people in America who went to Europe, trying to find and preserve and take and seize and preserve books and records in occupied areas of Europe. Axis occupied areas of Europe. So she was part of that, which brought her to Europe. And a contact in there pointed her to the SOE because she speaks French. An American who speaks French. And so she, as much as she enjoyed the book, all the book hunting operations, she wanted to kind of fight back more directly and also a bit of fantasy there, kind of being a war hero, even if it costs her life. Like, she knows this is a very dangerous job, but there's also a little bit of fantasy there as well because she's a reader.
Right on. Let's see how Helen Ruth does this time. I guess this time that makes it imply that there was a previous time, but... Alice, how about you?
Well, I kind of spoiled it already. So she's actually French. She was able to escape the occupation before the Nazis took over, and she fled to England. She's kind of in the same boat as Faye, in the fact that her father was in the French army, and she, I'd assume, found out he died or missing in action of some kind, and so she wishes to join.
I almost went that exact route.
Yeah! Great minds think alike!
Then I decided to make it a gray area so that it could possibly come into story play.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know what? Mine could still work. I don't know how, but...
He's brought back.
He's resurrected.
The Nazis were testing it.
Oh my... Nazi zombies.
So, Juliana Cortez... her family holidayed in France all the time, so that's how she was able to learn it. And she joined the SOE because during World War II, Spain wasn't actually aligned with either side, even though Francisco Franco wanted to join up with the Nazis and then eventually kind of fought against them, but not really did anything meaningful. He was a terrible guy, so you don't want to give him too much credit. So Juliana wanted to fight against the Nazis because she saw that what they were doing was just evil. So she didn't want to not be fighting against what she saw as bad. So training, I'm just going to read this section because it does a summary of it and there's not much else that we do. On page 8 of the rulebook, it says, when you are accepted for training, you are first sent to a remote country estate in Scotland where you are given commando training, escape and evasion, how to kill with guns, knives, and your bare hands, how to derail trains and blow up bridges. You mixed with men and had exactly the same training. At that time, there were no special allowances for being a woman. You were sent to the spy finishing school in, oh goodness, French word, Boulot?
Beaulieu?
Just so you guys are aware, I'm not going to attempt any accents this time.
Sounds good to me.
I've been shut down quite harshly in comment sections. So...
Get ready for my sweet German accent, though.
So you went to spy finishing school in Boulot for wireless radio transmission training and coding transmissions using poem encoders, and how to resist interrogation, how to break into buildings, and how to live as a spy. Kind of a summary of what actually happened for the SOEs. And now let's get to the strengths and weaknesses. These are important because these can really help out if you draw a diamond and get a success, or if you draw a club and get a misfortune. So, in normal order, Faye, why don't you give both strength and weakness?
Okay. So my strength is I'm a great liar. I have a wonderful poker face and I can totally pull it and make it sound convincing. Hence the journalist background. And then,
I'm sorry, it took a second for that one to hit. I was writing it down and then it finally registered what you said. Sorry. That's good.
And then, wow.
Fake
and then
news,
weakness,
what?
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, anyway, and then weakness tends to be a little too passionate or a bit of a temper.
Cool.
So for Helen Gertine, the strength I chose was ruthless when unarmed. I've often had this really neat image in my mind of a sort of librarian pugilist, where they might use books as well as their fists, or they might slam books in people's faces.
Book is life.
or things like that. And I would imagine. So I think it'd be really neat to have this sort of unexpected skill for someone with a librarian background. Weakness, however, I chose writes too much down, is too thorough in notes or code that she makes, and so she tries to be succinct, but she just like she just has a habit of using longer words or trying to explain things more thoroughly when she really just needs to spend less time writing things down and more time just getting the message delivered.
So once again, Nick is playing the fantasy version of Nick as a woman.
That's so true, though. I was going to say that, but yes.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's awesome.
I don't usually think about that kind of thing, but I guess when you consider your hair at Tintinnabular, yeah, I suppose so.
I think it's a cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Alice, her strength is prefers dynamite. And
Tyler plays the fantasy version of Tyler.
And I love blowing stuff up with dynamite. Oh, yeah. So she loves blowing things up. And her weakness is she is stunningly beautiful.
Oh, of course. Again, so it is Tyler.
I'm playing myself, of course.
That's not even a fantasy version. That's just Tyler.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That was in poor taste. Anyway,
I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it either, so I'm happy.
I made a bombshell joke.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
that was real good.
Yeah, I kind of regret it.
So, here's the thing. I was gonna have Juliana be a great liar, and then, well, that's what Faye is. And then I was like, oh, she's probably really ruthless when unarmed, and then Nick chose that. So,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with sharing. If you want to, I think it could be. It's like different angles with the same talent, right?
I'm gonna change it. Mine is Juliana is really good with people.
Okay.
She's good at motivating them to do what she wants. She's good at connecting with them. So this is not me at all, actually. This is quite the opposite.
That's not true.
Did you want me to pick a flaw that's actually on the list?
No, that's totally cool. That's awesome.
We're just not as creative.
It should be noted, all of the there are lists for all of these things, including names. But you obviously you can also pick your own things as well.
Mm-hmm. And the weakness, frightened by guns.
I was hoping wooden leg.
I was actually kind of thinking the same thing, but again, we probably don't want to steer too far into comedy. Well, actually, wooden leg would not be comical. It's just
well, there's an actual story of a lady who had a wooden leg.
As we all know, Nick thinks amputees are just hilarious.
No, it's just. I guess Mary Poppins came to mind, where there's a joke about a man with a wooden leg named Smith, and then someone says, "Well, what's the name of his other leg?" and whatever. I'm sorry. It can be a serious thing for some people, an accident, happened, and that it would require that.
No, No, I was thinking about wooden leg, but then I was like, oh, let's choose something that might actually that would be really an interesting dynamic to throw into war, which frightened by guns. I mean, I think that makes sense, especially being a children's book author. Not many of her stories have guns in them.
I imagine.
Or maybe they do.
Secret guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I change mine?
Yeah, definitely.
My weakness? I think I want to do extremely nearsighted. So without her glasses, she's blind.
Nice. That's
so you're
great.
also playing as a fantasy version of Rebecca.
Oh, no.
Are you saying I'm a good liar?
Sight impairment.
No, I'm not. But you are often a rogue in D&D.
This is not... I don't know where you're getting that from.
Always the mischievous one.
Anyway.
The nearsightedness, anyway.
No, I think that could be an interesting one to play
Being
off.
a rogue is just short-sighted, not nearsighted.
Oh. Oh, dear.
So, during the war, each of the SOEs had an area of expertise, or their initial role. So now you have the choice of deciding between if you want to be trained as a courier or if you want to be trained as a radio operator. So a wireless radio operator, their purpose was to send coded messages to England and to ask for money and equipment in return, or receive instructions from your circuit from them. And then a courier is somebody who traveled around with money, secret documents, and spoke with different groups of people and hoping that nobody stopped them. So, Faye, what about you?
Courier.
Nice.
I considered courier, but I decided to go with wireless operator because I think that'd be good with the right to do much down.
Yeah, I thought that was. I thought that you were going to go that direction when you said that was the thing. Ty?
Sorry, I am going with courier also.
Ooh, courier. And I was actually going with courier as well.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It should also be noted, the book in here says most of the people sent into France as vital wireless operators only had a life expectancy of 6 weeks, apparently. I do wish that a little more was explained about like how wireless radio operators worked, and what exactly the dangers were. I think more is explained later.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, since we're not as aware of technology as they were back then. Well,
there is a section.
Oh.
There is a section that kind of explains some of the dangers. I remember they said they had like wireless detection wires, and they had like
it's possible to
of,
trace radio signals and stuff.
Yeah,
I would have liked more explanation of that, especially for those who aren't as aware of World War II radio technology.
Which I'm not.
Being an expert and having gotten my PhD in radio contact.
Spin the dial
the
until it works.
In Europe.
I got my merit
Your marriage badge?
No, merit badge in radio. No, I didn't get that. I didn't get the radio merit badge. I was trying. I remembered though that I did some. There was some radio instruction as part of Boy Scouts. So,
but you did get your marriage badge.
You did. That.
Yes.
All right.
Anyway.
So moving on, the next section is, what is your cover story? All these people, all these women, when they got into France, they had to have a code name and a cover story in case anybody asked them. So this is something that their superiors gave to them, and these were drilled into them over and over and over to be able to recite it as though it was actually their story. So, Faye, why don't you go through yours? So, your code name, your cover story, or your fake background, and then where you're staying in France.
I'm Leonie. I'm a cosmetics company rep and staying in a hotel. So I kind of go from hotel room to hotel room as I show off my wares as a cosmetic company rep.
Ah, sweet.
Excellent choice.
Nick, how about you? Sorry, Helen.
Cover name for Helen Gertine is Yvonne. I chose War Widow. Because she has a French-Canadian accent, she would be a war widow from Canada, but her husband was French, which is why she's there. And so, she's kind of, taking care of herself and making her living.
Nice. Really cool. And what about you, Alice?
So wait, Nick, where are you staying? Are you staying in your own place?
Oh, I didn't mention that. Sorry. With a host family who don't know about. I thought that would be interesting. And so, again, in this time, someone who is a widow there are fewer opportunities for women to be employed at the time, of course. And so there's a host family heard of Yvonne's plight and said, why don't you there's like a little, maybe like basement apartment or something you can stay in for a bit while you try to get back on your feet or whatever.
Very cool. Very cool.
All
Alice?
Right. Alice her name is Coraline. She is a baker, and she is with a host family that does know. So she is working probably at a bakery, and my thought was she could put her dynamite inside of baked goods.
This one is piping hot.
Now that's what you call hot cross buns.
You might want to blow this one out.
In your mouth.
Explosive taste.
This will really light up your life.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, this is serious.
This is serious. Gosh dang it.
Yeah, we're in
Anyway.
character creation.
Yes.
We can joke about this.
But and hiding things in baked goods is just. I mean,
So
it obviously comes
cartoonish.
from somewhere, but it's so cliche.
It's so cartoonish.
But it's so cliche that it works.
I'll never suspect this. Dynamite cake.
Explosive croissant. A baguette. A bomb baguette.
Oh man.
It's like poisoning the apples.
True. Hey, I thought it was pretty funny. But
Juliana's name is Claire, and she, cover story, that's the word. She is a seamstress. Actually, she's a governess, and she is, this isn't one of the options, but because her family vacationed there so much, they had, like, the equivalent of a timeshare. I don't know what that is in 1940s.
They have a summer
France.
home.
they had a
Summer
summer
home.
home.
Yes. Yeah, so
Wow,
she's
you're
staying
rich.
at the summer home.
You don't even need funds from Britain. You have all the money.
Her parents cut her off when she joined to fight against the Nazis.
Eesh.
Yeah. Bad people. All right. So that covers character creation and the general way that the game is played. The way that we're going to do this, since we're all recording in separate places, is I'm going to draw 6 cards for everybody, or deal 6 cards for everybody. The game provides different ways that you can play it, and that the ways that you can play it are somebody else knows your cards and plays them for you. Nobody knows your cards and you play them at random, or you see your cards and you play them as you want. So what are you guys wanting to play?
Well, especially since we're kind of all in different locations, that kind of complicates things a bit. Since Spencer is kind of going to be the keeper of the cards, to simplify things, maybe just have it so that none of us are aware of what our
Random.
cards are.
Cool.
Random.
I do like the last round being able to see your cards,
Yeah.
so you can decide if you want
Yeah.
to do that. But
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, for the last round, because there are some mechanics in the prison chapter for that. Yeah, so we can make decisions based on that. But apart from that, yeah, random.
I was thinking the same thing. I was planning on having just Milena come in, take pictures of the cards, and then text them to everybody.
Perfect.
And
I
then
think that's perfect.
you can make your decision that way.
Excellent.
But that was a surprise and I ruined it. Okay.
Guest starring Milena.
Also, it should be noted that each scene is recommended to be between 5 and 10 minutes long. So not too long, but there should also still be something.
Mhm.
I think also, Spencer, you mentioned this in our chat before we started recording. But especially since some of us are very new to this sort of more improv, heavy roleplay, collaborative storytelling style game, there are lists of suggestions for scenes and things like that, and you were going to roll for the scenes so that we would have something to work with as we build each one.
Exactly.
Wait, what?
So there are scene suggestions, right,
Yeah.
for each chapter. And especially since, like, some of us, like especially Tyler has mentioned, for example, that something with this much heavy, like, and serious role playing is a bit new. So there are these reference sheets that have locations, scene suggestions for
Okay.
each chapter and suit, and so forth.
But if say we already know how we want a certain scene to go.
Yeah, you can
do
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you know what you want, then do that. Yeah,
Just
totally
don't
fine.
use the hints. Just
Okay.
go for it.
I was going to
They
use the
also-
hints because I need them.
They also have sections for
I might
each.
for some.
Yeah, totally. They also have like sections that give you like kind of ideas you can use for each phase, for each
Yeah.
face, like each suit
For each
basically,
suit,
which is
yeah.
cool. So that's nice.
And the book has some like real life examples, like real historical examples of the real women who are in SOE, which I think is an especially impressive touch. Which, I mean, you probably should expect something like that from a game like this, but just really good. I really appreciate that.
It's good flavor.
Yeah, and helps you appreciate the inspiration all the more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of those real stories are insane. So,
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read off this prompt to get us in the mindset of what's going on. Do we want to go in the same order in which we presented our characters to do these scenes? So, Faye, Helen, Alice, Juliana?
I suppose we may as well.
Or I guess Leon, Yvonne, Coraline, and Claire?
Leonie, Yvonne, Coraline, and Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Are we ready to get a little bit more serious, a little bit more involved, and a little bit more role play?
Yeah.
Okay. You were all dropped into France in the dead of night, parachuting in from small Lysander aircraft. Or Lysander. The flight was dark, cold, and noisy. The pilot was very friendly towards you, although he only knew you by your code name. He had many drops that night and encouraged you with his confidence that he had. You'll be great, he said, using your code name. You were met by resistance fighters and taken back to meet your SOE circuit leader. Write his French code name down on top of an index card and place it in front of you. You are now ready for the first chapter of your life in occupied France. Good luck. Let me know when you guys have finished writing the name of your circuit leader down.
I'm good.
Got it.
Would you like to share your names? You don't have to. We can just continue if you'd prefer.
Pierre.
Abel.
George.
Noel. So the way that this game is being played, as Nick has already said, this is from the perspective of you have already been captured. So picture yourself in prison, and the adjacent cells you are whispering to each other when you get the chance. You tell stories of how you tell your stories that led you into this terrible place, how you arrived, who you got to know, what your mission was, and eventually how you were captured. Tell each other your code name, strength, weakness, and what you look like. Do we want to do that? Feels like we did that.
Yeah, we're good.
I think we pretty much did that. I mean, except for appearance, if we want to get into that. But we have talked about like each of our different characters already.
Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good. As you tell each chapter of your life, the color fades to sepia and the stories come to life. Arrival. There are German soldiers everywhere. The officers eat and drink at the best places. The soldiers drink in the bars and cafes. The soldiers sometimes take what they want from the farmers. People are often stopped for their papers. The Gestapo seems to be everywhere. Wealthy elites and collaborators get on well with the Germans, all while thousands of Jews are rounded up and sent off to death camps. Some people are afraid, some are collaborators, some are angry with the Allies, and some will aid the resistance in whatever way they can, but they all look the same to you. The Arrival chapter focuses on a slice of life and relationships. Getting to know the people in your circuit includes meeting your SOE circuit leader, full-time members of the resistance, both men and women, the ordinary people risking their lives to help and support your work. They are your colleagues, but feelings may vary. Some may be glad to see you, some may resent you, some may fancy you and try it on, some may fear what you mean for their existing relationships. Some may look down on you because you are a woman, or welcome you because you remind them of their daughter. Supporting characters might be other members of the SOE, resistance fighters, or their families. And then I provide some examples from real life. Alright, are we ready to go into this?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this.
I assume you want top card?
Mm-hmm.
That is a 10 of clubs.
Misfortune.
That is misfortune.
Oh no! Do you have a scene in mind? How would you like to play this out?
I don't have a scene in mind, so a little bit of a
prompt, I guess.
Prompt would be nice.
Cool. So in the book, it provides a reference sheet. And in the reference sheet, it gives names. It also gives you scene prompts. If you want to choose from that, there are about, 40 or so different scenes that could be played out. And then there are also suggested scenes based on what you draw. So if you turn to page 3 of the reference sheet, you have a section for clubs there. Do any of those strike your fancy?
Let me take a look.
Sounds good.
Let's go ahead and do option 6.
Option 6. All right, some of the local resistance men don't trust a woman to do a men's work, and an argument ensues. All right, so do you want to provide the names of supporting characters? Would you like anybody else to play any of the supporting characters? You have already given Pierre as the circuit leader. You're in control.
Okay, we'll go with Pierre and Jacques. Don't appreciate the fact that they got assigned to work with a woman and feel that I am a weak link, essentially. They feel like I'm not going to be able to pull my weight. And then there will be a third, Jean, who is a little more open to the idea of working with me, but also doesn't want to make waves with his circuit leader.
Cool.
So if you all want to, I guess, help out.
You don't want
that.
to assign them?
No.
I will be Jacques.
Okay.
I can be Pierre, I suppose.
So I had just walked in to meet my new team, and they seemed pretty hostile. I'll never forget what they said to me then. So come in, Pierre.
Yes. What
I
is
was
it?
told to give you this.
I'm assuming this is like some sort of letter proving or identification proving. Leone. Yes. Right. Our new operative. Very good. Well, welcome to the circuit, I suppose. I guess I should probably introduce you to some of the others. Here we have Jacques.
Bonjour.
How do you do?
And then we also have Jean as well. They will be assisting. You will be assisting them in their work.
Hi.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in. We weren't really expecting somebody to get here so soon. So it's exciting.
Indeed.
Pierre, can we talk really quick?
Oh yes, of course, Jacques. Please excuse us, Leone. So they would step aside, but
And I'm making idle conversation with Jean while you tour.
I would imagine though that since this is part of the scene, that Leone probably would have heard this as well. Yes, Jacques. What is it?
Pierre, she comes in with a paper with her mission.
Yes. I am aware. You think I like this as much as you do, Jacques?
A war is for men, and our work is very difficult already.
Indeed. I don't even want to know what kind of training she must have gone through, because wiretapping, it's not just simply tapping fingers in a quiet room. I hope she knows that.
I'll have you know I'm a courier.
I'm sorry, I was mistaken. Nick, was mistaken.
No,
right, my character's
Pierre
Don't break
totally
character.
could have.
Don't break character.
Actually,
Don't
you know
break
what?
character.
Stay in this.
Why
Stay
just-
in this.
Stay
Stay in
Courier,
this.
yes, right, of course. Courier, that is, even.
She's even eavesdropping on our
If you
private
have
conversation.
something to say, would you say it to my face?
We are discussing something important that you don't need to hear, Leone. All right. Jacques wanted to ask me something. I'm addressing something here. all right?
I'll tell you.
All right.
I
Jacques,
personally
Jacques,
don't believe that a woman should be in this line of work. I couldn't
Jacques.
picture my wife or my daughters doing these kind of things. What you have to do is barbaric sometimes, and it's not pretty.
I appreciate your honesty.
Jacques, she's... For Christ's sake, she's delivering packages. Just let her do that. Come on, man.
Fine, I'm just saying. Whatever you say, John. I trust you. We've done this for years.
Yes, Jacques, honesty among us is certainly important, and maybe even though you may be saying something that we're all thinking, I suppose we could use all the help we can get. Sometimes we don't have enough people to carry all of the letters and all of the supplies, but
That's true. I guess there is some.
The fact that we should be grateful that there are more people here.
True.
And I mean,
Yes.
sorry, I was just gonna say. I mean, she's better to look at than you, than you, Jacques. So I mean, that's one plus.
Okay, John for once has a point.
Jock takes a big hit of his cigarette, throws it. I have to tell you, I'm very handsome. The ladies love me.
Look, you boys worry about your jobs and let me worry about mine, and we can all get along.
So
I suppose truer words have never been said tonight.
What's your story? What are you doing here? What's going to be what you tell people?
I'm just a simple cosmetic company rep, trying to promote my wares to the feminine populace and make my way through this hard time and keep going.
You might want to lose the glasses then. Just saying.
I mean, it's a solid story. I'll give her that.
I mean, if it's the truth, why not say it, right? It's innocuous. It's rather innocent enough.
I mean, if she's going for beauty products, glasses aren't really the thing.
Stay.
Just trying to help. Sorry. All right.
Well, okay, and then back to the narration is good.
Okay.
I mean, they never really warmed up to me, but we were at least able to work well. We were at least able to somewhat work together. I tried not to get too... Mostly I just tried to keep my head down and stay away.
That was actually pretty successful. I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Not too shabby.
It was rough.
Our first time doing something like this. I was impressed by what Tyler said with like Jacques' little argument and stuff. I think how Jacques wouldn't want his wife or his daughter in the war or something like that. I think that makes it feel more real. Certainly doesn't excuse the rude comments that would have been made in that situation, but I think that does make it feel more, at least a bit more nuanced, a bit more real of what some other people may have been thinking. So
Tyler supports female agents of all kinds. So
indeed,
yeah, that should be noted. When we are playing characters, we are playing characters, and they do not reflect our own personal beliefs.
Yes,
that is what role playing is all about. So
lying. Do we want to go on to the next one? Do we want to do?
Let's go ahead and move. Let's go ahead and make sure that each of all four characters have the arrival scene, and then that'll probably be good for this episode, I imagine.
Cool. All right. So, do we want to do a kind of... I like the way that Rebecca did it, where she did a little bit of narration to open up, and then it just goes into the scene after everybody has been assigned a character, and then you just play it for a little bit, and then close it with the narration again.
I think it works well. I think that might also be the intent of this game anyway, so...
We know what they think. Okay, here is Yvonne.
9 of diamonds. Success. Okay, let me...
Who is your circuit leader?
The circuit leader's name is Abel.
Abel.
Also, when quote-unquote NPCs are created, the game also suggests coming up with a couple of adjectives for their like personality or something like that. But I think it's good to wait on that until we decide on a sort of scene. So let me look here. Oh, actually, okay. I will once again use prompt number 6. You use the strength that you discovered during training to help teach the local resistance. How do they feel? So what I'm imagining is that, a strength would usually come up in, success. And so I thought that, Yvonne's strength is ruthless when unarmed. I imagine this might be some sort of like skill that she didn't really fully know that she had until training came. And then she would be able to teach some of the other people in the circuit some of the tips that she picked up, including using like improvised weapons like books or whatever to their advantage.
Cool.
So definitely we'll have Abel, who is the circuit leader. I think having a couple other circuit people would be good. Probably in the middle of maybe like some training. Maybe 2 people are sparring or something. Let's have Mark
Lafayette.
Mark and Eugene.
Cool.
So we have Abel, the circuit leader, and then Mark and Eugene, who are probably practicing some sparring when I arrive.
Do you want to dish out roles, or do you want us to choose?
I'll have you guys choose.
I could be Eugene. What is Eugene like?
Eugene.
Mark.
Yes, I'm the
That leaves-
circuit leader.
That leaves Abel with Tyler.
I'm able and able. I think Abel is going to be this older French man with a nice gray twirly mustache and
Okay. So they're also in the reference sheets. There are some optional attitude prompts as well. So it sounds like Tyler has an idea for Abel. Let's do. Mark is a bit more reckless, while Eugene is.
Feel like timid. I was
Timid?
thinking like somebody who wanted to get involved
Maybe
in the war
fearful-
but wasn't
fearful and
able to
timid.
actually like meet any of the qualifications to actually join the real army.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So.
I see Mark as being very young,
All right. Excellent.
hot-headed.
Nice.
So this is. I'll say Yvonne, the code name. I keep wanting to say Helen, but the code name for my character is Yvonne. While in prison, Yvonne kind of starts talking about that is after Leonie shares her story. Yvonne says, "Well, I'm very sorry you had to go through that. I will say that my arrival was a bit more positive and successful than that. Probably
It's
poor
true,
word
though.
choice there.
No, just keep staying it. Just go.
Okay,
Yeah.
my arrival was a bit more positive than that. I will admit. I was even able to make my circuit mates a bit better with some stuff I learned from training. So Yvonne walks in and sees Mark and Eugene sparring, and there's Abel there as well.
strike Eugene!
Hello.
Strike Eugene!
Ow!
Fight
Oh.
back!
Mark,
Fight
stop!
back!
Stop! Time out! Ow!
Again.
You think the Nazis
Never
are going to
get
give up?
better.
Exactly.
Can he?
Oh,
Is he
dear.
allowed to throw elbows? Like, I don't feel like that's fair.
The Nazis aren't going to fight fair.
Okay, what about hair pulling? That's not okay. Like, that definitely goes too far.
My, what have I walked into?
Who are you?
Oh, I am Yvonne. I believe I am I'm new to this circuit.
The new girl's here.
This is the new girl. This is Yvonne. She's going to be our new wireless operator.
How good are you at this? And then Eugene tries throwing a punch the best that he can.
Hopefully better than that.
Well, actually, having seen some of this, I might have a couple of tips for some of you here. Let me show. I mean,
Go.
you laugh if
Eugene can use all the help he can get.
All right. So first of all, actually, Mark, you're a little too eager. Just pointing that out there. But Eugene, certainly. So when you were punching there, you're kind of you're not putting
A limp fish?
you're not putting all of your force into it. If you twisted your wrist a bit more, you'd be able to give that punch a bit more oomph. You see, and Yvonne also demonstrates as well.
Is
See
she
this?
actually hitting Eugene?
No, just
No,
demonstrating
you
right
should
now.
Be punching at Mark.
No. Like she's giving some demonstration punches and whatever,
Okay.
and also and then she also says, and then you mentioned elbows, so. Sometimes I have a book in my hand when I do this as well to give my arm more weight. But if you don't have a book, then you sort of turn your body a bit more, and that puts a bit more force there.
Holy crap, Mark, she's better than you.
Allow me now, if you don't mind, gentlemen, allow me to demonstrate. And then
Yeah, I'd
one,
want to see
two,
this.
And so one punch, two punch, elbow right in Mark's jaw.
Oh, that actually hurt.
That is actually very impressive. I'm sad that you're not a courier.
Now surely, Eugene, no offense, surely you can do something like that, right?
Let me give it a try. Can you do it one more time?
Oh, gladly. And so once again,
And he manages to kind of dodge
Oh,
one
dodge,
and then
okay.
just...
so actually, when you Yvonne was telegraphing that usual punch elbow thing, but the first two punches come out, and you said Mark kind of dodges a bit, but this time she actually knees him in the stomach.
Whoa!
Ow!
You're paying
We can keep her. Ow!
You were paying now. Like I said, you were too eager. You were so focused on what I was doing with my fist, weren't you?
Yeah. You've got to teach me how to do that.
That was...
I thought it was pretty simple, but apparently some of you gentlemen don't really know how to fight.
That was awesome.
Well, yeah, we're very happy you're here, Yvonne. You're going to be a great addition. Our team is a tight-knit group, but with your skills, you're already making leaps and bounds in friendship, except for Mark. You've been beating him up.
I'm sure Mark can learn to forgive me.
I think so, too.
With a bit of therapy, I'm sure. All right. Excellent.
And it kind of fades back into present time.
Yeah. Yvonne would probably conclude it in her storytelling, saying, probably one of my favorite days, honestly. I really showed them.
Cool. All right, we are now to Alice or Coraline.
Ooh.
Queen of Hearts.
Oh, hello.
Queen of Hearts.
Hello, boys.
Well, stunningly beautiful is your weakness.
It's true. I'm just going to go take a quick peek at the little aids.
Who is your circuit leader?
So George is my circuit leader. And then I'm going to say there's another woman named Dominique. And there's a man named Gaston. All right, let's look. I'm going to say that we are actually at George's house. George is the owner of the bakery that I'm currently living in. So it's his bakery. That's kind of maybe the headquarters for me, the circuit, potentially. So we're having kind of a meeting, I guess, in his house, kind of on the upper level of the apartment above the bakery. And if you guys can pick whoever you want, I would say Dominique is probably an older French woman who's probably gray-haired also, if you guys have ideas also. And then Gaston.
I was going to say baker's wife, unless you're going for the baker as the love interest.
I like that. No, I like that a lot. So we'll say that Dominique and George are married, and they are running this resistance group here. And then Gaston is probably maybe ex-French military that has maybe abandoned his post but wants to continue fighting since the war is kind of over, kind of more guerrilla warfare now. And I guess, I don't know who wants to play who.
I'll be Dominic.
Nick, you can be George, because then that's easy for you.
I'll be... Sure.
Yeah.
I'll be George.
Cool. I'll be Gaston.
Okay. I guess we'll walk up to the bakery, and George is going to be showing me the house, kind of where I'm staying and things like that.
All right. Well, yes, so that is the lobby there. Here's... no, wait, we're meeting up upstairs. And let me show you upstairs as well. Follow me, please. So yes, bathroom over there on the left, office and a bedroom over there on the right. If you need us, we're further down the landing that way as well. Oh, yes, I should probably show you the kitchen as well. Follow me back downstairs, please.
Yeah, the kitchen looked amazing. I'm surprised we passed through it so quickly.
The
pastries looked amazing.
Oh, yes, of course. But yes, I should probably have you meet some of the others as well. Yes, right over here, and George, opens the kind of like flap that allows entrance into the back area. And yes, here is our wonderful kitchen. This is, and this is my wife, Dominique, and over there is... And over there is Gaston. Is Gaston like so he was another like resistance member, right?
Yeah, basically.
Over there is a, shall we say an assistant. Gaston.
Pleasure to meet you, Gaston and Dominique.
Yes, Dominique, Gaston.
And what's your name, dear?
My name is Coraline. I'm going to be living with you for as long as we have until
further notice.
Correct.
Oh, it'll be wonderful to get some help.
Indeed. Well,
Decent help is so hard to come by these days.
It's true. I love
right
friends.
here.
So what does Gaston do
You're
in the bakery?
barely competent help, Gaston.
I feel like that is an inappropriate comment. I do pretty much everything.
Plus, there's nothing like a pretty face up front to help sell the goods.
That's true. Well, thank you so much for that compliment, Dominique. I think we'll be best friends.
Yeah, okay. You want to know what I do? I do everything. I bring in the flour. I gather the eggs. I milk the cows. I churn the butter. I wrap.
You don't welcome the guest. That is one of the most important aspects of customer service, of course.
We're still working on your baking skills too. So far, everything you've put in the oven has come out troubled.
Slamming a rolling pin on the counter.
We're getting there. You're getting better.
I'm doing everything else here.
And George and Dominique, do you have? I can see you're married. Do you have children or?
We do have. I need to think about this.
I would say maybe they have some smaller children. Maybe that would make things a little.
Well, if we're an older couple,
yeah, if we're an older couple,
but a French older couple.
Yeah, you know how that is.
Yeah, we do.
Our daughter was married a few years back, and sometimes brings the grandkids for a visit. But with everything that's been going on, it's been a while since they've been able to come.
It has been difficult to get together, certainly. So,
well, hopefully they're safe and maybe a little more competent than Gaston. And I look over and wink at him.
No, Gaston is a great help.
Gaston is excellent, yes.
Gaston clenches his chin and just keeps rolling
too,
more angrily, and you see the rolling pin bending under the weight that he's just pushing on this.
Perhaps a little, too excellent, especially the way Coraline sort of eyes him sometimes, am I right? Gaston, it might be hard to get a new rolling pin. Please exercise a bit of restraint, if you please.
Of course. And I let go of the rolling pin and just walk out.
Someone needs a day off, apparently. No day off from wartime, I say.
Well, I just had a long trip. I'm going to start unpacking what I do have. I mean, they gave me a little bit of money for the bakery, of course.
Excellent. Right.
For whatever orders we have cooking. So I will give that to you as the head baker, I guess.
Oh, thank you. Well, more like master of the till, I suppose.
Master of the house.
I guess we were all thinking it. Yes, thank you. It's very much appreciated. Yes, by all means, go and set up, and we'll manage.
Let me come up and help you. Let me come up and help you get settled there. Things have slowed down a little bit.
Oh, you are too kind to everyone, Coraline. I suppose that's why I like you so much.
Dominique is your wife. Dominique is your wife.
He has Alzheimer's.
Dominique.
That's all good.
Honestly, you can't do... Oh.
I'm glad I'm making good impressions already.
Is it?
Oh, good gracious. No, you don't know that. You know I didn't mean it like that,
Someone's
Dominique.
in the
I'm
doghouse.
so sorry. I'll show myself out, I suppose.
You do that, dear. Honestly, in his old age.
I heard that.
You know men. They're...
Just because your first wife died young tragically doesn't mean that I appreciate being called by her name.
Oh.
I have nothing to say on the matter.
Here, dear, let's
Go mind the till, dear.
Let's go upstairs and start unpacking.
I figured he was already in the other room.
Yeah.
So how have things been in the town? And real talk between women.
The soldier presence, of course. Everyone's constantly talking in a flutter about that. We've been fortunate in that there hasn't been too much liberation of our goods of late, although some of our friends have been less fortunate.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad that things aren't as bad as I've heard. I've heard a lot of other places have been hit very hard.
Well, let's get you settled then.
You good with that?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, and scene.
Cool. Cut. So who was the love interest?
I'm gonna... you'll find out.
Okay.
It's actually George. No,
And or familial. I mean, familial
it doesn't have
love.
exactly. Yes.
Parent,
Yeah.
And also like, an older couple as well. I figured that also played into the theme.
Yeah, I figured probably more of like a family love, like bonding more with the older couple, and me probably being the age of their not grandkids, but their daughter.
Probably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, now it is my turn as Claire, and this is what I chose. Ooh,
A nine of hearts.
a 9 of hearts. Okay. The other characters that I have chosen are Noel, the circuit leader, Agnes, another woman who is in the Resistance, and Renee, a man in the Resistance. Instead of choosing which one I like the best, I'm just going to roll the old 6-sided die, because there's 6 options. Number 2. The British SOE circuit leader is dashing and heroic, and you get on so well. You are starting to develop feelings for him. Will he feel the same way? All right, so we have Noel, Agnes, and Renee. Renee is a man as well.
Do you have a thought about like
Do you have a preference for who does
like
what?
the scene, or I guess that too?
Doesn't matter who does what. I'm fine with whoever. And
I guess I can play Noel, I suppose.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Someone had to take it.
Oh, I know.
Okay. I was thinking that this one, I'm just gonna have be. It's gonna be the first meeting that I have with Noel after he is delivered. He left a note at the location where I was dropped off or whatever, and he had a meeting set up in kind of like hidden in plain sight. So this is actually going to be on a sunny afternoon in a cafe that we are meeting up for the first time.
Okay.
And it is just Claire and Noel that this is happening with. So when I first got to France and I received the letter from my circuit leader, I was expecting some, I have no idea, some military man. In Spain, where I'm from, so many of the men are very macho, and it's not very appealing, what I saw growing up. But when I first met Noel, there was something very different about him. Not sure what it was. So, with Claire being a governess, she arrives to the cafe and immediately gets a table dressed somewhat nicer than a lot of other people who are there. And she is waiting at the table before Noel gets there.
All right. And it's not too long before Noel starts walking in. He has a noticeably nice business suit, actually. Looks a bit on the nicer end of things, which is probably one of the reasons it's a bit unexpected. But he does recognize, Claire from the description that he got. So he approaches the table. Claire, is it?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. I am Noel. Pleased to meet you. I see you sort of beat me to it, and he will go ahead and sit down.
I hope you don't mind that I took the liberty of getting you a coffee, if that's all right.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate someone who takes initiative like that. Wonderful. So, how have you been adjusting to, I guess, the town, your surroundings?
Well, it's quite different than I was expecting. I didn't know that this part of France was so beautiful. I had only spent time in the south of France, and here in the northern area, it's a bit more than I was expecting.
Interesting. I'm from the south of France myself, down in the coasts. I consider that place to be a lot more beautiful, although I suppose my opinion is changing a bit the longer I stay here.
And Claire kind of blushes when he says that. Well, I'm sure that we'll get along famously as we're here. I'm very glad to be meeting you. No, was it?
Yes, indeed. Well, yes, so you find northern France beautiful, even though you've been to southern France yourself, down in where there are, more plains and beaches, I imagine. What do you find so beautiful about this place?
The people are quite charming, I have to say.
I suppose charm begets charm out here, as far as I can tell. I do get to see a lot of people in my work. Probably haven't told you. I work as a banker, and so I get to see lots of people every day, and a lot of people wear nice clothes, and but this is nice. It's nice to be out here.
I think that would probably a good place to end it for that scene.
Cool.
Not a whole lot
Sounds
there.
good.
But yeah, pretty good.
The beginnings of something.
The beginnings of I thought it was cute.
I didn't want to continue with just kind of like flirtatious wordplay.
Right. I couldn't really.
It felt like it was getting
so
cheap.
good.
So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I couldn't really think of a whole lot to say as far as the actual work, especially because it's a cafe, and we know that Gestapo soldiers are usually at cafes and things like that. But
very true. Very true.
I think that's a very good opening scene for Claire, I imagine. If you feel the same.
Yeah, I think it was good. It's going to be...
All right.
It's a very interesting game. Very different. Anyway, that kind of concludes everything that I guess I didn't have prepared. I don't really know how to say that.
Hey, you. Yes, you with the ears. Okay. I'm going to tell you a little something about the Necropodicon Network. The what? The Necropodicon Network. It's a collective of creators of fantastic podcasts ranging from scary stuff to funny stuff, movies to games, stories to banter, and more. It's all there, and you lucky little so-and-so, can listen to it for free. Well, that just sounds too good to be true. Are you calling me a liar? It's the Necropodicon Network. Go to necropodicon.com to find your new favorite podcast.
Necropodicon. Hard to pronounce, easy to listen.
Dun, da, 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 da.